Hola, hola, language amigos. It's Virginia again. And today we have the day number 3 of the Spanish Starter program. This is the lesson number 3. Can you believe it? Already number 3? Amazing. So congratulations if you're here. So today, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's recap what we saw previously, right? In lesson number 2, we started with the verb ser and the verb estar, that they both mean the verb be in English, right? We saw a little bit of the differences, the verb ser for permanent things to describe people, and the verb estar for temporary things and locations, right? But today, we are going to focus on describing others. So that means we're going to use the verb ser, right? Be, but the verb ser for permanent things to describe other people, okay? We are going to learn a little bit about that, some vocabulary about family, and so we can use them to describe the people around us, and also we will learn adjectives in Spanish. They are very particular because they have different rules from English and the particularity of the gender. But don't worry, we will get into that, and I will give you some examples, of course, and tips for you to remember some of the most important rules, okay? So let's do it right away. Let's describe others, right? Okay, let's recap the verb ser. As we said before, it's for permanent things, right? Usual permanent things. So here we have, of course, our board of the conjugations, the pronouns on the right, on the left, and the verbs and the verb conjugation on the right. So we have yo soy, I am, tú eres, you are, él es, he is, and ella es, she is. And here on the right side, we have some adjectives that we can use with the verb ser, right, to describe. So we have canadiense, which means Canadian, inteligente, intelligent, alto or alta means tall, and joven, young, right? Here are some of the examples that we can use. For example, if I would like to say he is Canadian, I would say él es canadiense, right? If I would like to say I am young, yo soy joven, right? Very simple. Muy bien, continuemos. Ahora, vamos a hablar de la familia. We're going to talk about family, right? So it's very simple vocabulary for us to describe the people around us, the closest to us. So we have here padre or papá, father or dad, madre, mother, mamá, mom, yes? Hermanos, siblings. We say hermano for brother and hermana for sister. So here we have some, a if it's female or o if it's male. You see a pattern right there, right? Then we have hijos, which means children, and we say hijo if it's a son or hija if it's a daughter, okay? Then we have esposo and esposa, which means husband and wife, right? Also ends with o and a. Muy bien. Now, as I was saying before, for us to describe people, we normally use adjectives, right? And what are they? Well, the definition is exactly as in English. What are the adjectives? How do we use them? When do we use them? We use them to describe people or things, okay? The same as in English. Now, what is the difference between the adjectives in Spanish and the adjectives in English in regards to the rules is that in English, you don't necessarily have a gender for, you say beautiful, beautiful can be for a man, for a woman, for a thing, right? No problem. But in Spanish, we do have a gender. So if we have a word like bello or bella, which is beautiful, it would have to agree with the gender, okay? So if I want to say he is beautiful, I would say él es bello, right? O bonito. But if it's a woman, ella es bonita or bella. See? So we have the gender. It's one of those particularities in Spanish that you don't have in English. And the number. The number means if it's plural or singular. That's simple, right? So in English you have plurals, but you don't have plurals with the adjectives, right? You say they are beautiful. You don't say they are beautifuls, but in Spanish we do, okay? So if I want to say, ellos son bellos, they are beautiful. You see that I'm adding an S, right? And if it's women, a group of women, I would say, they are beautiful, ellas son bellas. You see? So I'm using there the noun, the gender, and the number. So it's very important to bear that in mind, all right? Muy bien, continuemos. Let's continue. So, as we were saying before, we have the gender of adjectives. It could be female or male, right? We're going to start with male, masculinos. So we have bonito, which means beautiful, pretty, and alto means tall, right? If I want to say the female version of this, I would say bonita and alta, okay? Now let's see some others with the feminine. We have pequeña, which means small, and gorda means fat, okay? So we have pequeño and gordo if it were a male, right? And then we have something that we call neutral, because it doesn't matter if you put it with a female or a man, they will always use an e in the end, okay? So one of those adjectives is responsable, responsible, it ends with e, so you don't have to, it doesn't have to agree with the gender. If you're talking about a woman, you can say ella es responsable, and if it's a man, él es responsable. You don't have to change it because it originally ends with e, okay? The same as inteligente, for example, right? Ella es inteligente, él es inteligente. No problem, right? And then we have valiente, which means brave, also ending in e. I am a woman, so if I want to say that I am responsible, I would say yo soy responsable. Doesn't matter, doesn't change. But if I want to say yo soy alta, right? I am tall. I have to, since I'm a woman, I have to say yo soy alta, right? I'm not a man, so I cannot say soy alto. Yes, that's the agreement that we talked about. Muy bien. Perfecto. Now let's see some examples here. We have el perro es muy pequeño. The dog is very small. See, perro, dog, male. So we say pequeño, okay? Then su papá es muy protector. His father or her father is very protective. See, su papá protector ends with o, so it's a male. If it's a male adjective. If it were a woman, su mamá es muy protectora. Okay? Muy bien. Here we have some adjetivos femeninos, feminine adjectives. La pizza es deliciosa. You see, as the noun ends with a, it's female, so we use the adjective with the female version, with an a. So we say, la pizza es deliciosa. But what if I talk about some food that it's male? For example, if I want to say el pasticho, lasagna, in Spanish it's pasticho. So I would say, el pasticho es delicioso. You see? Male, male. O and O, okay? Here we have ella es alta, she's tall, right? If it were a man who was, if he were taller than her, we would have to say él es más alto. He's taller, okay? Muy bien, continuamos. Adjetivos invariables or neutral are the ones that end with e. Mi hermano es responsable. You see, hermano ends with o, but since responsable is neutral or invariable, we keep the e, okay? Responsable. Mi mamá es valiente. My mom is brave. Mi mamá es valiente doesn't change the e. See? Plurales or number. We're talking about numbers here. What do we do with the plurals? We just add an s, okay? Like as you do with the nouns in English. So if I say, los niños, the children are very fun, right? The children in Spanish, they have an S, it's in plural, right? Los niños son muy divertidos. Divertido means fun, right? So if I want to say it in plural and in male or masculine, we would have to say divertidos, okay? O for the male and S for the plural. And then on the right side, we have las chicas son altas. The girls are tall. So we have chicas, female, plural. Also, the adjective, which describes them, means it has to go with a and s, okay? Female and plural. Muy bien. So let's do some practicing. Practiquemos. Mi mamá es, let's describe our moms. right? Moms have the best adjectives because moms rule, right? So we say, mi mamá es cariñosa, loving, divertida, fun, responsable, responsible, and protectora, protective, right? All ends with a, right? But responsible because it's one of those that are neutral. ¿Cómo es tu mamá? How is your mom? Can you tell me one adjective to describe your mom? So you would start with, mi mamá es. Muy bien. Now, let's talk about a man. Let's talk about el señor Alberto, Mr. Alberto, right? It's a man. El señor Alberto es, Mr. Alberto is, viejo or joven? What do you think? Viejo or joven? Old or young? El señor Alberto, we can say it's viejo. Let's judge him by his gray hair, right? El señor Alberto es viejo. El señor Alberto es amable or amargado? Is it kind or nice, or is he like moody, amargado, right? I think he's amable, so we can say el señor Alberto es amable. The other two, el señor Alberto es gordo o flaco? Can you tell me that in the comments below? I want to know what you say, what you think of el señor Alberto. I want you to tell me all these adjectives. So if he's gordo or flaco, fat or thin, or if he's interesante or aburrido. Does he look interesting or boring? What do you think? So I wanted to say that in the comments below. And then with the last part as a homework or as an activity for you to write it down here, because I will be very excited to read what you have, what you can write down here. Describe your dad. I want you to describe your father. Describe a tu papá. Por ejemplo, for example, mine, él es valiente, he's brave, él es brillante, he's brilliant, and él es delgado, he is thin. Delgado, thin, right? That's my dad. Ese es mi papá. I want to know about your dad. Can you describe him down below? I will wait for your answers. I want to know how your dads are and what do you think of el señor Alberto. And also, if you want to do some homework, if you're a buen estudiante, if you're a good student, we have here, we will leave you a link with some homework for this lesson, okay? So you can practice describing others. Así que nos vemos la próxima vez. See you next time. Sigue practicando español. Nos vemos. Gracias.